Are you new to City Heroes or a returning player and wanting to know more information about the Lost? Well, I'm Controlled Chaos, and in this video we are going to go over the Lost faction. Let's get started. So the Lost are a homeless type of faction. They deal with a lot of the homeless, which is a really interesting concept, and the cool thing is that they have some mutations that have happened to some of them. And this is all because of the whole entire Rikti invasion, which really brings this in because they also use some Rikti weapons, which makes them sort of a mixed mash of stuff. So when you're fighting them, you sort of need to judge based off of what you're seeing. And I'll go through those as I go through the different types of minions and stuff like that they have. So first off, they have the Scrounger Brawler. And the Scrounger Brawler is very basic, just pants, t-shirt type homeless look. And they use revolvers and they brawl, so they'll use their fists. Next, you have the Scavenger Buckshot, and they look homeless also, but they have a jacket on, and they use shotguns and have no melee attack. It's just the shotgun they use. Then after that, you have the Scavenger Chopper, and the Scavenger Chopper has a closed jacket and then has sort of this leather one shoulder harness on with a tire over the shoulder, and they use a revolver and a fireman's axe for their attacks. Then you have the Scavenger Gunner, and the Scavenger Gunner has like what looks like a plaid shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and they have what looks like a trash can lid on their chest tied to them with rope. And they use submachine guns and have no melee attacks. Then you have the Scavenger Slicer. They look like a regular homeless guy, a little bit cleaner in the pants look, but they use revolvers and a knife when attacking you. Then you have the Scavenger Slugger, and these guys, they have a cap on and a long beard and a darker coat with the leather strap and then the tire over the shoulder, and their weapons are a revolver and a baseball bat and slugger. Then after that, we start getting into some mutations, and we have the Mutant Brawler. And the Mutant Brawler is this big husky guy with sort of pinkish skin, but one of his hands has a really long finger. And they use revolvers and they brawl. Then you have the Mutant Buckshot. These guys are also big and brawny, use the huge model, and they have a hoodie on. And they use shotguns, no melee attacks with them. Then there's the Mutant Chopper. These guys, once again, are brawny, and the way you can tell them apart is they have this big red and white yellow triangle yield sign on their chest being held on with chain. And they use a revolver and a fire axe. Then you have the Mutant Gunner. These guys have a look that's really interesting. They have an open jacket that with rolled up sleeves. They have a slender husky look, and they have chains that a chain that wraps around their waist and then across chains over their shoulders, holding tires onto their shoulders, and they use machine guns with no melee attacks. After that, you have the Mutant Slammer. The Mutant Slammers really stand out. They have a jacket with rolled up sleeves that's opened. They have a stop sign on their chest being held onto them with chains. But what really makes them stand out is they have a TV on their head with parts of it broken out on the screen. And they use revolvers and sledgehammers. Next, you have the Mutant Slicer. The Mutant Slicer looks a lot like the Mutant Slammer. The difference is they do not have the TV on their head and their jackets zipped up. And they use a revolver and a knife. After that, you have the Mutant Slugger. The Mutant Slugger wears a hoodie, has a chain going around the waist, wrapped around both shoulders, and are wearing tires on the shoulders. And they use the revolver and a baseball bat. And then after that, you have the Mutant Quantum Gunner. These guys have a hoodie on and they look like the normal guys, but you can tell them out because they're pulling out a giant weird looking Ricky weapon called the Quantum Ray Gun. And this does negative damage and reduces recharge and speed. So you want to watch out for those guys. Then let's go into the lieutenants. The lieutenants, you have the Headman Blaster. These guys have the TV on their head, they have the bulky body, they have the chains going around the waist and the shoulders, and then they have tires on the shoulders. And they use Ricky pistols and no melee attacks. After that, you have the Headman Rifleman. These guys have the hoodie on, but you remember that mutant I was talking to you about that had that one hand with the long finger? They have that one hand with the long finger, and they're really noticeable because they use a Ricky rifle and no melee attack. Then you have the Headman Swordsman, and they have that yield sign on, held with chains. And they have a revolver, but what really makes them stand out is their melee attack is a Ricky sword, is an energy attack. And they can disorientate you, so you want to be careful with that. After that, you have the Anthems. The Anthems have this dark skin, look really mutated, no shirt on, really raggedy pants. And these guys have a lot of psychic powers. They have Mental Blast, Subdue, Psychic Scream, Telepathic, or Telekinetic Blast, Will Domination, which is a hold. They use a Ricky sword and will do melee brawling attacks on you. Then for bosses, you have the Aberrant, and they are a lighter skin color of the Anthem, and they just do Mental Blast, Mass Hypnosis, which, Mass Hypnosis, if you used it, is a group hold, and they use the Ricky sword and a melee brawl. After that, you have the Aberrant Reactor. They are the same look as the Aberrant Emerald, but they have that one long finger on one hand, and they will do Mental Blast, Mesmerize, Dominate, use a Ricky sword, and do brawling. Okay, after that you have the Para Arcanist. I may be pronouncing that wrong. It's my eyes, and they look really interesting. They have a complete different look, and their look to them is they're light skinned, they have no shirt on, and their chest is completely tattooed up. The shoes have an oriental look to them, like samurai shoes. Then they're wearing very baggy, raggedy pants. Then they have a unique belt on that makes them stand out. They're what looks like wearing samurai gloves, and then they have a chain crossing their chest and holding trash cans onto their shoulders. And they use a mental blast, mass hypnosis, total domination, a Rikti sword, and they will brawl. Then you have the Paralite, and these guys look really interesting. They're very skinny. Their forearms and calves are bigger than their biceps and their thighs, which makes them stand out. They wear a cloaked hood with the cloak part covering the front of the chest and the back. There are no pants on these guys, and they have a mental blast, mesmerize, dominate, a Rikti sword, and brawl. Then after that, we have just one arch villain, and that is Chorus, and he is blue skinned. He's wearing blue pants, he's wearing sandals, he's wearing a dark brown jacket, and then he has sort of that design where you have the spikes around the head and it's showing the brain and you have the wires going into the brain. He has that look for the top of his head. And then he does a mental blast, subdue, psychic scream, telekinetic blast, will domination, total domination, and no melee attacks. So he is a pure psychic user when you run across him, and he is the leader of the Lost. Overall, when you're fighting these guys, you need to take out the psychic guys as quick as possible. They will put you to sleep, they will hold you, they will root you, they will control you. So you want to be careful of those guys and take them out first. Then work on your minions, and then I would go with lieutenants or however you want to do it after that. That's how I would handle this whole entire situation with the Lost. Now you'll find them in places like King's Row, wandering around, and all the way up to your 30s. And you'll get missions with them, and it'll be in sewers, and you'll find them in Rikti hideouts and buildings and stuff like that, which is really nice. And sometimes in caves, but it's predominantly sewers and Rikti hideout buildings you'll find them in. That's the main areas they like to be in. If you found this helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and if you're subscribed, take a look at the memberships by clicking on the join button. There are a lot of great features in there. You can get, if you do the highest tier, a free item from the gaming imagery shop every 6 months, and every month you will get a discount code giving you anywhere from 10 to 25% off things, plus videos that regular viewers will not be able to see. You'll get special things in Discord and a bunch more. Have a great night.